My beloved child, amid the countless calls of life, amid the hurried sounds pulling you toward worries, I am still very near to you, nearer than the breath passing through your chest at this very moment. There are days when you think everything belongs only to the world: work, money, health, family, the things you must solve, the mistakes you must hide, the pain you must carry alone. But today, I want you to sit down in silence and realize that there is an encounter that does not need a crowd to witness it, does not need anyone to understand it on your behalf, and does not need any applause to confirm it. This is a moment that belongs only to me and to you. Like when the Lord called Samuel in the stillness of the night, and the boy answered, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. I do not come to condemn you, nor do I come to count the times you have been weak. I come to place my hand upon your soul, to remind you that, in my eyes, you are not a forgotten soul, lost in a sea of people, but a child called by name and love from before you were formed in your mother's womb. And because I am here, you no longer need to pretend to be strong. I know there are mornings when you wake with your body still weary, yet you must smile as though nothing inside you has broken. I know there are times when you look at your wallet, at the bills, at the responsibilities piling up, and your heart quietly asks, "How will I live tomorrow?" I know when you sit among family and still feel lonely, when you are surrounded by friends and yet there remains an emptiness no one can touch, when you work with all your strength and still fear that you are not good enough, not fast enough, not loved enough. My child, I have seen all of this. Just as Jesus saw the woman suffering from hemorrhage in the midst of the crowd, he saw not only the hand that touched his garment, but also the 12 years of silent pain she had endured. He did not let her disappear into the crowd like a nameless shadow, but called her daughter. And today I call you the same, my child. The child I will never lose in the crowd of life. If your heart is troubled by the mistakes of the past, let me tell you this with the tenderness of a father. I do not love you because you are perfect. I love you so that you can rise from the places that are no longer worthy of you. When the prodigal son returned, the father did not make him recount every detail of his wastefulness, nor did he force him to kneel outside the gate until he had been humiliated enough. Instead, he ran out and embraced him while he was still far away. Do you see? My love always goes ahead of your apology. My mercy always runs faster than the shame that slows your steps. You may have lost your peace in some season of life. You may have spoken words that wounded others. You may have chosen wrongly out of fear, out of ignorance, or because your heart at that time was too hungry for love. But I do not build a house upon old ashes in order to make you live there forever. I am the one who makes the desert bloom, the one who causes water to flow from the rock, the one who spoke through the prophet Isaiah, saying that I am doing a new thing, now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? So today, do not look at your life as a sentence already closed. Look at it as soil that I am turning over, so that I may sow into it a new season of grace. Then, when you think about your body, about its weariness, illness, sleepless nights, and pains no one knows, I want you to remember that your body too is a place where my love reaches and touches. You are not merely a drifting soul, you are a creature I formed in a wondrous way. As the psalm proclaims that you were woven in your mother's womb with mystery, do not hate your body simply because it does not look like someone else's. Do not despise the marks of time, the scars, the limits that make you feel weak. Sometimes, in that very tired body, I am teaching you to stop. Sometimes, within illness, I am calling you back to tenderness toward yourself. Sometimes, in the tears of exhaustion, I am opening within you a prayer more truthful than any prayer your lips have ever recited. Jesus slept in the boat amid the storm, not because he was indifferent to his disciples, but because he wanted them to learn that peace does not come from a calm sea, but from the presence of the one who is with them. Therefore, my child, when your body needs rest, do not call it laziness. When your heart needs healing, do not call it weakness. When you need to cry, do not see your tears as failure. There are tears that fall within me and become fragrant oil for the soul. From the body into the mind, you will see that the most hidden battlefield of your life is not always outside you, but often within the thoughts that repeat themselves, the self-accusations, the fears that have not yet happened but already make your heart tremble. I hear you ask yourself, am I loved? Am I worthy? Will I be left behind? And I answer you, not with thunder that frightens you, but with a gentle whisper, as when I came to Elijah on Mount Horeb. I tell you that you are not the dark thoughts that pass through your mind, nor are you the judgments of the world. You are the one I call precious, engraved on the palm of my hand, seen with a gaze the world cannot imitate. Learn to let your mind rest in my word, not as a dry obligation, but as a child resting their head upon their father's chest after a long day. When you hear, do not fear, for I am with you. Do not treat it merely as an old sentence. Let it enter your breathing. Enter each small decision. Enter the moment you step out of the house, the moment you open an email, the moment you meet someone who makes you anxious, the moment you face yourself in the mirror. But I do not want to heal your mind only so that you may be at peace alone. I also want that love to flow into your home, into the dinner table, into your word notes, into the way you look at those most familiar to you. Family is sometimes the place where you receive the most love, but it can also be the place where you are wounded most deeply because of expectations, silence, misunderstandings, and words that seem small yet remain for a very long time. My child, I know there are times when you have tried to be a good child, a good parent, a kind spouse, a sibling who knows how to yield, and still you feel your heart is tired. Remember that Jesus grew up in a simple home in Nazareth, where St. Joseph labored quietly, where Mary kept all things and pondered them in her heart. Holiness does not always shine in great things. Often it is hidden in a bowl of rice being served, a shirt being folded, an apology spoken before pride has time to build a wall, an embrace given to a child who seems disobedient but is actually longing to be seen. If there are still cracks in your home, do not despair. I am the carpenter of souls. I know how to join together what is broken without taking away its beauty. Begin with a gentler word, a slower gaze, a forgiveness not yet perfect but sincere. From there, I will continue with you, and in your work, where you may think I am least present, I still stand beside you among desks, machines, calls, orders, deadlines, sweat, and pressure. You may think the spiritual life exists only in church, in prayer, in moments of retreat, but I was with the fishermen on the shore of the lake. I called Matthew while he was sitting at the tax collector's table, and I saw the widow offering her 2 small coins in the temple. I do not look down on your labor. Every task you do with an upright conscience can become a silent prayer. When you are honest, though, no one is checking. When you are patient with a difficult person, when you work carefully, not to show yourself off, but to serve, when you refuse profit that would harm others, then my light is passing through your hands. If you are discouraged because your efforts have not been recognized, remember that the seed lying beneath the soil receives no applause. yet it quietly breaks open in preparation for the harvest. I see what the world overlooks. I know the hours you have tried. I count even the sacrifices no one names. And I tell you that your worth does not lie in your title, your salary, or the praise you receive, but in allowing my love to soak into the way you live, in the place where you have been set. Speaking of money, my beloved child, I know this is what makes many souls sigh. Some speak of faith, yet their hearts still tremble when they think of tomorrow, still fearing lack, loss, and not having enough to care for parents, children, medicina, tuition, and shelter. I do not blame you for those worries, for I know you live in a world that needs food and clothing, responsibility and wisdom. But I want you to distinguish between preparation and slavery, between managing what I have entrusted to you and letting money rule your heart. Jesus said that the birds of the air neither sow nor reap, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. And the lilies of the field neither toil nor spin, yet they are clothed more beautifully than Solomon. Those words do not teach you laziness. They teach you not to let fear of poverty steal your dignity, and not to let the ambition for wealth dry up your mercy. Work, save, learn, and care for the future. But also keep a generous corner of your heart for those who need your help, for a shared meal, for kindness that does not calculate. When you place possessions under my light, money becomes a means of serving life. But when you place your soul at the feet of money, you will grow weary even when you have more. From these practical things, I want to lift your eyes toward nature, where I wrote the first sermons through dawn light. Raindrops, fields of grain, bird song, rivers, and wind. Do you recognize it each day? The world still quietly offers you signs of kindness. A young leaf stretching out after the rain does not need to give a speech about hope, yet it itself is hope. A sky changing color as evening falls does not need to speak about faithfulness, yet it reminds you that every day is closed within my hands. Jesus often used the mustard seed, the vine, the wheat field, the sparrow, and the lily to speak of the kingdom of heaven, because creation knows how to praise me by its very existence. When you are too busy, you easily think life is only notifications, appointments, and responsibilities. But I still place small miracles around you to draw your soul back home. Look at a warm meal, a cool breeze, the laughter of children, a mother's hand, the eyes of an aging father, the familiar road after the rain. All of these can become sacraments of gratitude if you look with an awakened heart. Even so, I know you do not see beauty every day. There are seasons of life when clouds linger for a long time, when you pray and do not yet see an answer, when you do good and are still misunderstood, when you love and are still left behind. At such times, you may think I am silent. But my child, my silence is not my absence. On Holy Saturday, when Jesus lay in the tomb, the disciples thought everything had ended. They did not know that in the deepest place of darkness, the power of resurrection was preparing to burst forth. There are things I am doing in your life that your eyes have not yet seen. Like a seed splitting open beneath the ground, like a sprout pushing through the soil, little by little. Do not measure my love by the speed at which you receive what you ask for. I am a father, not a salesman for your fears. I give you what saves you, not only what comforts you for a moment. If today you do not yet understand, keep holding my hand. Faith is sometimes not seeing the whole long road, but taking one more step in the light that is just enough. Perhaps you are also carrying a loneliness you do not know how to name. You may be known by many people, needed by your family, swept along by work. And yet there is still a place within your heart that no one can enter. I do not see that loneliness as your fault. It is there that I want to meet you. When the Samaritan woman came to the well at noon, she was avoiding the eyes of the village, carrying within her many broken stories and unnamed longings. Jesus did not begin by exposing her sin, but by asking for water, a gentle doorway through which she could recognize the one who knew her and still did not despise her. You too do not need to hide from me the parts of your life that are not beautiful. I already know, and I am still here. I do not come only to stand in the clean rooms of your soul. I also come into the places you have locked, the places you fear someone would leave you if they saw them. But I do not leave. I sit beside the deep well within you and speak to you of living water, the water that keeps your soul from running everywhere, begging for drops of recognition. Then, when you think of those who have hurt you, I do not hastily command you to forgive as though giving a cold order. I know forgiveness does not mean denying the wound, nor does it mean opening the door for evil to continue harming you. Forgiveness in me means that your soul no longer remains chained forever to the one who caused you pain. On the cross, Jesus prayed, "Father, forgive them," not because the nails did not hurt, but because his love was greater than human violence. I will not force you to move faster than your heart can bear, but I will walk with you step by step, from resentment to lament, from lament to release, from release to peace. There are people you must love from a safe distance. There are doors you must close in order to protect the life I have given you. But do not let bitterness become your home. You were created to live in the light, not to become a prisoner of the darkness others left behind. In all these things, I want you to remember that I am not only the one who looks down from on high, but the one who entered the dust of humanity. I know hunger. I know weariness. I know betrayal. I know what it is to weep before the tomb of Lazarus, to tremble in the Garden of Gethsemane, to feel abandoned while crying out upon the cross. Therefore, when you suffer, you are not praying to a God unfamiliar with tears. You are speaking to the one who has passed through tears in order to open a way for you. And because I understand you so deeply, I do not want you to live as though you are only someone trying to survive from day to day. You are called to live, to love, to become a small sign of kindness in this world. A word you speak can lift someone from the abyss. A kind act can soften a heart that is hardened. A quiet faithfulness can become a lamp within a house. Jesus said, "You are the light of the world." And light does not need to shout in order to overcome darkness. It only needs to be present and faithfully shine. My beloved child, if today you feel too small to change anything, remember that I often begin great works with small things. I used the staff in Moses' hand, David's sling, the 5 loaves and 2 fish of a child, and the small room where the frightened disciples gathered, to breathe the Holy Spirit into a flame. Do not despise what you have: an imperfect talent, a clumsy prayer, a heart that has been broken yet still knows how to love. All of these can become instruments in my hands. You do not need to wait until you are no longer afraid before you begin. Often, courage means walking while your hands are still trembling, yet your heart still trusts that I will not let you go. Do the nearest good thing. Call the person who needs to hear your voice. Care for your body with a decent night's sleep. Apologize when it is needed. Learn something that helps you serve better. Place part of your income into wisdom, part into generosity, and part into a peaceful future. Pray not only with words, but with a way of living that gives my love room to pass through. And now, as these words are touching you, I want you to breathe more slowly. Do not rush into the next worry. Do not let your mind pull you away from this sacred moment. I am here. not as a distant idea, but as a father bending down beside you. This is an encounter no one can enter on your behalf. No one can love me in your place, and no one can receive my love in your place. I know your name. I know your voice. I know even the words you have not yet formed into sentences. Like the shepherd who leaves the 99 sheep in safety to search for the one that is lost. I have passed through so many valleys in your life to bring you back to peace. Do not ask anymore whether you matter. The cross has answered. The manger has answered. The empty tomb has answered. Every dawn in which I still allow you to wake is also answering that your life is still loved, still meaningful, and still has a new chapter being written by grace. So place your hand upon your heart and hear me speak very softly. You are not forgotten. You are not excluded from my plan. You are not too late to be healed. You are not too far away to be called home. No matter how noisy the world becomes, no matter how people misunderstand you, no matter how the past whispers words that make you afraid, I still stand at the door of your heart and knock. As the word has said, whoever hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and dine with that person. That meal does not need to be luxurious. It needs only a heart that opens. Let me enter the room you are hiding. Let me touch the wound you are covering. Let me sit with you among the questions that still have no answers. Then, from that silence, you will realize that the most beautiful thing I send into the world is not only flowers, the sky, or outward miracles, but also you, when you are healed by love. You are part of the beauty I am sowing into the world. Tomorrow, you may still have to face work, family, money, illness, messages that need answering, and responsibilities that cannot be avoided. But you will not step into tomorrow like an orphan. You will walk as one who has a father. When you open your eyes, say within your heart, Lord, lead me today. When you eat, give thanks for daily bread. When you are tired, remember that Jesus too once sat down to rest beside the well. When you are tempted to anger, remember that a gentle word can calm a storm. When you succeed, bow your head in gratitude. When you fail, return instead of running away. I do not need you to perform a life without stumbling. I want you to live a life that knows how to rise again in grace. And each time you rise, all of heaven rejoices, not because you have never lost your way, but because you have heard the call of love and returned. Finally, my beloved child, keep this like a small candle within your heart. Everything between me and you begins with love, is preserved by mercy, and will be brought to completion in light. No one can come between us and steal from you the gaze I have for you. No mistake is greater than the cross. No night is deeper than the power of resurrection. No voice of the world can drown out my voice calling you my beloved child. Let your soul rest in that truth. Let it seep into the way you breathe, the way you work, the way you spend money, the way you care for your body, the way you love your family, the way you forgive, the way you look at the sky, the way you move through ordinary days. For ordinary days, when placed in my hands, can also become holy ground. And if today you have only enough strength to say one sentence, say, Father, I am here. I will answer. Without delay in love, I am here. My beloved child, I have always been here. Because from eternity, my heart has chosen to love you. And when you have heard me say that I am here, my beloved child, do not understand it merely as a passing comfort on an evening when your heart is weak. Let it become the rock beneath your feet, the place where you set your whole life down again. Because there are times when you do not only need to be soothed, you need to be rebuilt from pieces that seem to have shattered. There are times when you do not only need an outward sign, you need to know that even when no miracle appears before your eyes, my love is still quietly working within you. When Jesus said to his disciples, "I am with you always, to the end of the age," he did not promise to be with them only in beautiful hours of prayer, but also in the days when they were afraid, hiding, misunderstanding, arguing, losing heart, and beginning again. Therefore, if today you look at your journey and see more winding roads than straight paths, more scratches than victories, more questions than answers, do not quickly think that I have gone far from you. There are roads that seem to lead you into the wilderness, but in truth, they bring you to the place where I can speak to your heart in a language clearer than all the noise of the world. In that wilderness, you will learn that not every lack is a punishment. The people of Israel once passed through the desert with no storehouses of grain, no river within sight, no fortified walls to shelter them. Yet every morning they gathered manna as though gathering my faithfulness fallen upon the ground. I did not give them manna for a lifetime in a single day, but only enough for today, so that they might learn that faith is not holding every assurance tightly in their hands, but waking each morning and trusting that the Father still knows what his child needs. You are the same. Many times you want me to give you a complete map, to know every turn, every outcome, every answer beforehand, so that your heart will not tremble. But I often give you only enough light for the next step. Because if you could see the whole road, perhaps you would no longer learn how to hold my hand. Remember the words of the psalm, "Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path." A lamp does not illuminate the whole horizon at once, but it is enough to keep you from stumbling over what lies just before you. Enough for you to take one more step, then another, until dawn widens over your life. From that dawn, I want you to look back at the things that once made you ashamed with different eyes, not so that you may beautify sin, nor so that you may justify what was wrong, but so that you may understand that in my hands, even the place where you once fell can become the place where you learned humility, compassion, and watchfulness. Peter denied his teacher 3 times in the cold night, and the rooster's crow tore through his heart like a blade. Yet that same Peter was later entrusted with caring for the flock, not because he had never been weak, but because he had wept in truth and allowed love to restore him. When Jesus asked him, "Do you love me?" he did not ask, "Are you worthy?" Nor did he ask, "Are you certain you will never stumble again?" He asked about love, because love is the door that opens the mission again. My child, if your life also has nights like Peter's night, moments when you do not recognize yourself, words you wish you had never spoken, choices you wish you could go back and change, then let that gentle question echo within your heart, "Do you still want to love me?" If your answer, even trembling, is yes, then I will begin again with you, not from the place where people left you behind, but from the place where my mercy lifts you to your feet. Then there will come a time when you realize that the deepest healing does not always come by erasing memory, but by allowing me to step into that memory and turn it into a place where there is light. You may once have been abandoned, compared, made to hear words that caused your soul to shrink, or raised with the feeling that you had to strive very hard in order to be loved. I know that those wounds do not disappear simply because you have grown older. Do not fall silent simply because you are busy. Do not stop aching simply because you smile in front of others. But I, the one who touched the leper when no one else dared to touch him, I also want to touch the part of your soul that even you are afraid to approach. The leper said, "If you are willing, you can make me clean." And Jesus did not stand far away and command from a distance. He stretched out his hand, touched him, and said, "I am willing." Let those two words enter your heart. I am willing. I am willing for you to be cleansed of shame. I am willing for you to be free from the curses of the past. I am willing for you to stop living as someone who must prove that they deserve to exist. I am willing for you to know that before you accomplish anything, before you succeed or fail, before someone chooses you or rejects you, I have already looked upon you with the eyes of a father and said that you are something good that I have made, precisely because you are that good thing. I also want to teach you how to care for your life with a very concrete holiness. Holiness is not only when you fold your hands in prayer in a quiet room, but also when you know how to drink a glass of water, eat a proper meal, step outside and breathe, pause before angry words wound another person, turn off something that is poisoning your mind, and choose sleep instead of letting worry chew through the long night. Your body is not a vehicle to be used until it is exhausted and then neglected. Your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. As St. Paul reminded you that your bodies are temples where God dwells. When you despise your own health, you do not become more sacrificial. You only cause the vessel that carries the grace of your life to crack little by little. I do not want you to live in extremes, sometimes careless, sometimes cruelly harsh with yourself. I want you to learn moderation as a beautiful prayer, eating with gratitude, working with faithfulness, resting in peace, moving with joy, caring for yourself, not out of pride, but because you understand that your life is a gift I have entrusted to you, and that gift must be cherished. From caring for yourself, you will learn how to care for those placed beside you without losing your own soul. There are people you love very much, but that love has exhausted you because you thought you had to save everything, fix everything, carry everything, endure everything. My beloved child, I am the Savior, and you are one who is invited to love within the healthy limits of a creature. Even Jesus had times when he withdrew from the crowds to go up the mountain and pray, times when he crossed by boat to the other shore, times when he did not meet every expectation people placed upon him. That did not make his love smaller. On the contrary, it showed that true love always remains in obedience to the Father, not controlled by every urgent voice from the crowd. Therefore, if you need to set boundaries in order to preserve peace, do not think you are selfish. If you need to say no to something that wears down your soul, do not think you lack love. If you need to pray before answering, remain silent before reacting. Step back before everything breaks apart. That too is wisdom that comes from me. A heart that burns brightly is not a heart that burns itself down to ashes, but a heart that knows how to remain close to my fire so it can continue to warm the world. And that world, my child, needs your gentle presence more than you realize. Perhaps you think you are only an ordinary person, a small voice, a weak hand, a life with nothing special in it. But I often send peace into the world through people who do not know they are shining. The Good Samaritan did not stand on a platform preaching about mercy. He simply stopped by the roadside, bent down beside a man who had been severely beaten, bandaged his wounds, poured on oil and wine, brought him to an inn, and then quietly continued his journey. That mercy was not loud, but it resembled my heart. You too can become someone who stops in this age when too many people hurry past one another's pain. A message of concern at the right time. A word without judgment. A shared meal. A fair attitude in the workplace. Patience with the elderly. A softened gaze toward a child who has made a mistake. These small things can become the road by which I enter another person's life. Do not wait until you have much before you give. Sometimes what another person needs is not silver or gold, but the feeling that they have not been left alone. But in order to give in that way, you must learn to remain in me. The branch cannot bear fruit by itself if it is separated from the vine. And Jesus said clearly, apart from me, you can do nothing. You can do many things by your own strength. You can run, arrange, build, calculate, manage, and provide. But if your soul is separated from the source of life, you will gradually feel even good things becoming heavy. Prayer is not another task added to your already crowded schedule. Prayer is the breath that keeps every schedule from turning into chains. When you pray, you do not need to use perfect words. There are days when you only need to sit before me and breathe. There are days when you only need to say, Father, I am tired. There are days when your prayer is a tear falling onto your pillow. There are days when prayer is a silence that does not know where to begin. I understand all of it, because the Holy Spirit intercedes for you with groans too deep for words when you do not know how to pray as you ought. Do not give up simply because you do not feel fervent. A fire can still burn beneath the ashes, and I know how to breathe upon it at the right time so your heart becomes warm again. When that fire is breathed upon, you will begin to look at the future no longer as a frightening wall, but as a field where I am inviting you to sow seeds. Perhaps you have delayed your dream because you feared failure, buried your calling because you thought you were not good enough, or allowed the judgments of others to become a lock on the door of your life. Remember the parable of the talents. The fearful servant buried what had been entrusted to him, not because he had nothing, but because fear made him forget the trust his master had placed in him. Do not bury what I have placed within you: your voice, your creativity, your sensitivity, your ability to learn, your painful experiences that have been healed. All of these can bear fruit if you entrust them back to me. I do not demand that you bear fruit like someone else. The olive tree does not need to be ashamed because it is not the fig tree. The lily does not need to compete in brightness with the sun. Every creature glorifies me by living according to what I created it to be. You are the same. Stop comparing yourself so much that you forget the unique fragrance of your own soul. Even so, I know comparison is a quiet temptation of the age in which you live. You see another person's success before you see their tears. You see the smile but not the battle behind it. You see the house, the trip, the praise, the position, the body, the family. And then your heart asks why your life is not like that yet. My beloved child, do not let the window through which you look into another person's life become the prison of your own soul. When Peter asked about John, "What about this man?" Jesus drew him back to his own calling. "As for you, follow me." That word is also for you today. As for you, follow me. Not according to someone else's rhythm, not according to the clock of the crowd, not according to standards that make you lose your peace. I have a path for you, and that path has its own spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Some trees bloom early, some bear fruit late, but what matters is whether the roots are planted in good soil. Let the roots of your life go deep into my love, and your season will come in. My wisdom, from freedom, from comparison. You will see that gratitude is not the denial of difficulty, but eyes washed clean enough to recognize grace present even in the middle of difficulty. When Paul and Silas were chained in prison, they sang hymns at midnight. That song did not make the chains light according to human understanding, but it opened a door for my power to enter a place that seemed locked shut. You too can sing a quiet song in the dark prisons of your own life. Not a noisy song, not a false smile, but a small thanksgiving, gratitude, because today you are still breathing, because there are still people you love, because there is still a lesson, because there is still a chance to make things right, because my word still upholds you. because no matter how long the night becomes, the dawn still belongs to me. Gratitude is like a key that opens the room worry has locked. When you are grateful, you do not lose touch with reality. You simply stop giving suffering the right to tell the whole story of your life. And in the story of your life, there will always be people you must learn to entrust to me. There are children, friends, relatives, spouses, those who have gone far away, those who are lost, those you want to hold tightly because you fear they will be hurt, fear they will take the wrong path, fear they will not return. I understand that fear, but remember that my hands are wider than yours. Mary had to stand at the foot of the cross, watching her son suffer without being able to take him down. According to her own will, she stood there in faith, not because she did not hurt, but because she knew how to offer what was most precious to the Father's plan of salvation. You too are invited to entrust in that way, not letting go with coldness, but releasing into my hands with love. Pray for them. Love them with truth. Do the part you can do, and then let me do the part that belongs to God. There are doors only I can open, hearts only I can touch, homecomings that can only happen after a long season you cannot control. Entrusting does not make your love weaker. It purifies your love from the fear that wants to control everything. As you learn to entrust, you will also learn to wait. Waiting is one of the hardest schools of the soul, because it forces you to face a deep question. Do you love me for myself, or only for what you hope I will do for you? Abraham waited for the promise. Hannah waited for a child. Simeon waited for the Savior in the temple. And when he held the child Jesus in his arms, he recognized that not one day of waiting had been wasted in my eyes. You too may be waiting for a change, an answer, someone's return, a door to open, a healing to be completed. While you wait, do not let your heart turn to stone. Live today with all its small faithfulness. Water the plants, clean the house, work, pray, learn, love, rest, forgive, prepare. The season of waiting is not a meaningless blank space between two blessings. It too is a blessing, if you allow me to use it to make you deeper, gentler, stronger, and brighter. Perhaps by now you will ask me how you can know you are still walking on the right path when everything outside remains unclear. My beloved child, look at the fruit. My path may be difficult, but it leads you toward deeper peace, greater humility, truer love, greater honesty, and greater freedom. The path of fear often makes you hurried, hardened, secretivi, exhausted, and distant from what is good. Jesus said, "By their fruits you will know them." You too should look at what your choices are producing within your heart. Do they draw you closer to me? Help you love others more purely? Help you live more truthfully? Protect life within you and around you? Not everything pleasant is a blessing, and not everything difficult is a sign that I am not with you. A tree that is pruned may hurt for a moment, but it is pruned so that it may bear more fruit in the next season. If I am pruning a habit, a relationship, an ambition, or an attachment within you, do not resist too quickly. The gardener does not hate the tree when he prunes it. He loves it enough not to leave it wild forever. Then, from being pruned, you will begin to understand the beauty of simplicity. The world often tells you that you need more money, more fame, more beauty, more influence, more proof that you are moving quickly. But the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, like yeast in dough, like treasure found in a field quiet, yet powerful. I am not against your growth. I rejoice when you mature. Learn, succeed, and build. But I do not want you to trade your heart for things that will pass away. Some people have many possessions but cannot sleep in peace. Some are known by many yet can no longer hear the voice of their own soul. Some win in the eyes of the world but have lost their gentleness. Choose the simple path, not because of poverty, but because of freedom. Keep spaces in your day where you can hear my voice. Have meals that are not swallowed in haste and anxiety. Have conversations that are not merely exchanges of information, but offerings of presence. Keep a corner of your heart unsold to hurry. It is there that I will meet you. And each time I meet you in that simplicity, I will remind you of your true identity. You are not the sum of your achievements. You are not your wounds. You are not someone's rejection. You are not the amount of money left in your account. Your age, your appearance, your position, your mistakes, your past, or today's anxiety. You are my child. When Jesus was baptized in the Jordan River, before he performed public miracles, before he taught, before he healed the crowds, the Father's voice declared, "You are my beloved Son. In you, I am well pleased." That love came before the mission. That delight came before achievement. Let this truth break the chain you have worn for too long. You do not need to work yourself to exhaustion in order to purchase my love. Your good works must flow from the fact that you are loved, not from the fear that if you stop, you will no longer have worth. When you live from the identity of being loved, you will work with a different joy, serve with a different freedom, rest without guilt, and love others without always demanding that they fill the emptiness only I can fill. Therefore, if today you hear my voice, do not harden your heart. Open a little, even if only a small crack, and the light will know how to enter. I do not demand that you understand everything immediately. I do not force you to become strong in one night. I only invite you to return to me in the very next thing you do. When you wash your face, let the water remind you that mercy can make you new. When you put on your clothes, remember that I want to clothe you with dignity, not shame. When you step out onto the road, remember that every person you meet is also carrying an untold story. When you hold money in your hand, ask your heart what serves life. When you hold your phone, choose what nourishes your soul instead of what throws your heart into chaos. When you close your eyes at the end of the day, hand back to me even the things left unfinished, because I am the one who does not sleep while you rest. The Psalm says that the keeper of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Believe that the one who keeps you is also watching over you with tireless love. After all of this, what I want to leave within you is not merely a feeling softened for a few minutes, but a lasting certainty that you never walk alone. Tomorrow, perhaps you will still have to face old trials, still meet difficult people, still have bills to pay, still have a body that needs care, still have a mind that must learn peace, still have a family that requires patience, still have work that demands responsibility. But all of these things will be different when you know that I am in the midst of them. I am not only at the end of the road as a reward, I am on the road as your companion. I am not only in the church, I am in the kitchen, in the car, in the workplace, in the hospital, in the classroom, in the market, in the rain, in the long night, in the sigh, in the difficult decision, in the apology, in the embrace, in the silence that knows how to listen. Your whole life can become a meeting place if you learn to recognize me. And when you recognize me, you will understand that what I said from the beginning is still true. I am here, very near, deeply personal, and tender. This is the story of me and you. The story of a love that has called you by name. The story of a father who never stops waiting, never stops healing, never stops lifting you up so you may continue walking in the light. Therefore, my beloved child, keep walking, not with the pride of one who thinks they need no one, but with the peace of one who knows they are held in the Father's hands. Let the past rest beneath mercy, the present remain under guidance, and the future be held in hope. Let every heartbeat of yours become a quiet response. I belong to you, Father, and I will answer you in every season of your life. When you rejoice and when you weep, when you are strong and when you tremble, when you can see the road and when all before you is only a dim blur. Yes, you belong to me. No one can snatch you out of my hand if you keep returning to hold it. No darkness can swallow whole a soul that has been lit by the light of resurrection. No desert can prevent me from making a flower bloom in its appointed season. So lift up your head, not to look down on suffering, but to see that heaven is still open above you. Breathe, not like someone who has survived by accident, but like one who has been given another day because love still desires to continue writing. Live today with gentleness, for in this very day, I am here with you. And if you will only let me remain, even the most ordinary things can become holy. And when you have come to know that I am here with you in every breath, my beloved child, let that truth sink even deeper, not merely like dew resting upon leaves at dawn, but like water seeping into the roots of a tree, quietly nourishing the trunk and branches as they grow. There are truths you have heard many times, but have not yet truly allowed to become flesh and blood in your own life. You know that I love you. Yet at times you still live like one who must beg the world for scraps of pity. You know that I forgive. Yet you secretly carry old chains into your sleep. You know that I guide the way. Yet you still panic when you cannot see the entire path before your eyes. Today, I do not reproach you for those contradictions. I know your heart is learning to trust, like a child learning to walk, sometimes standing firmly, sometimes swaying, sometimes falling down and looking around for the Father's hand. And I will always stretch out my hand. When the prophet Jeremiah heard the call, he answered that he was too young and did not know how to speak. But I said, do not say, I am too young. Wherever I send you, you shall go. That word was not only for Jeremiah, but also for the weak place within you, the part that often says, I am not enough. I am not ready. I still lack too much. I do not call you because you are already complete. I call you so that along the journey, you may be made complete by grace. When you allow me to call your name in that way, you will realize that each morning is not merely a repetition of yesterday, but a new page placed into your hands. Some people wake and see only burdens, unfinished tasks, appointments, responsibilities, and pressure waiting outside the door. But I want you to wake and hear the small bird outside the porch as a reminder that life is still being given freely. The sun does not rise because you are worthy, but because my kindness still covers both the righteous and the unrighteous, still sends rain upon fields that have long forgotten gratitude. If today you can still open your eyes, still call someone you love, still drink a sip of water, still correct one small mistake, still pray even with only a sigh, then today is not an empty day. Do not despise small beginnings. Noah built the ark plank by plank while the world had not yet seen rain. Joshua walked around Jericho in silence before the walls collapsed. Mary said yes in a humble room before the whole history of salvation turned. My great works often begin with small acts of obedience that people easily overlook. So when you make your bed, wash your face, prepare a meal, enter into your work, or open your heart to someone who needs you, know that these actions can become bricks in the temple of peace I am building within you. From those small beginnings, I want you to learn again the art of living slowly in a world that keeps urging you to run fast. You have run so much. My beloved child, run to keep up with others. Run so you would not be left behind. Run to answer every message. Run to achieve one more thing. Run to prove that you have value. But there are times when you run so hard that you forget to ask whether your soul can still keep up with your body. I did not create you to become a machine that operates without rest. I created you like a garden that needs a season for sowing, a season for growing, a season for pruning, a season for resting the soil, and a season for blooming. From the very beginning of creation, after 6 days of creating, I blessed the day of rest not because I was weary like human beings, but to teach you that rest also belongs to holiness. When you allow yourself to stop at the right time, you are confessing that this world will not collapse because you rest, that I am still the one who sustains all things, and that your worth is not measured by the number of tasks you complete. Let your heart learn its own Sabbath, a space of silence where there is no buying or selling, no competing, no self-accusation, only the soul bathing in my presence. Perhaps you have only 10 minutes by the window, a few moments before sleep, a walking path, or a short prayer while washing your hands. But if you offer it to me, that moment will widen like the upper room where the Holy Spirit once descended. In that silence, the true and false voices within your heart will gradually become distinguishable. There is a voice that comes from me, gentle yet firm, correcting without crushing, inviting without forcing, illuminating without driving you to despair. There is also another voice that appears reasonable but sows fear, shame, hostility, and dryness within you. Learn to recognize them. When a thought says you are useless, that is not my voice. When a memory whispers that you will never change, that is not my voice. When comparison makes you hate yourself, that is not my voice. My voice may reveal sin, but it always opens the way back. It may show you the wound, but it always carries healing oil. It may invite you to leave behind what is not good, but it never strips you of the dignity of being my beloved child. Remember how Jesus looked at Zacchaeus in the sycamore tree. He did not call him by the name sinner, greedy man, or despised outcast. He called him by name and said that he must stay at his house that day. It was that gaze that made Zacchaeus willingly open his storehouses, make restitution, and change. True love does not make you hide in darkness. It makes you brave enough to step into the light. And when you say within your heart, "Father, here I am," do not think that such a word is so small it disappears into the vast sky. No, my beloved child, in my boundless being, not one of your sighs is considered insignificant. Not one clumsy prayer of yours falls to the ground without being received by mercy. There are words you speak with your lips, but there are also words you only dare to speak through weary eyes, trembling hands, and long silence in a darkened room. I understand all of them, because I do not hear you as human beings hear sound. I hear you with the heart of the one who created you. When Hannah stood in the temple, her lips moved while almost no sound came out. People could misunderstand her. But I recognized the pain of a woman longing to be comforted. In the same way, if tonight you do not know how to pray, simply let your soul turn toward me. St. Paul reminded you that the Spirit intercedes for you with groans too deep for words. And precisely in those wordless spaces, I am still holding you with a love that needs no explanation. From that simple response, I want you to learn again how to live slowly in my presence. Because this life often makes you think that only great things have value. You see others moving quickly, succeeding quickly, building quickly, being praised quickly, and your heart begins to ask why your life seems like a field that has not yet had time to bloom. But my child, I do not measure the harvest by human haste. Some trees must take deep root before they rise tall. Some souls must pass through quiet seasons before they release their fragrance. Jesus lived 30 years in silence before stepping out into public preaching. Those 30 years were not wasted, because holiness is also nourished in ordinary days, in working hands, in family meals, in gentle obedience, in footsteps no one records. You are the same. Do not despise the season in which no one sees you. If today you are only learning patience, learning how to care for a loved one, learning how to do a small task with integrity, learning how not to become angry at something that once made you flare up, then you are growing in me. These things are not loud, but in the kingdom of heaven, quiet faithfulness carries a fragrance more lasting than applause that quickly fades. Then, when you enter the responsibilities of life, I want you to carry that peace with you like someone carrying a lamp through a dark hallway. Do not wait until everything is perfect before you live kindly. Do not wait until your family has no more problems before you love. Do not wait until your finances are abundant before you learn to share. Do not wait until your body is perfectly healthy before you give thanks for today's breath. The widow of Zarephath had only a handful of flour and a little oil left, and she thought it would be the final meal for her and her son. But when she opened her heart to receive the prophet Elijah, the jar of flour was not emptied, and the jug of oil did not run dry. I do not tell that story so that you may treat faith as a transaction, but so that you may recognize that wherever there is trust and generosity, life finds a path that fear cannot see. Perhaps you too are holding in your hands a very small handful of flour, a little strength, a little money, a little hope, a little patience left after many weary days. Do not say that it is insignificant. When you place that small thing into my hands, I can nourish more than you imagine. And if you are afraid of loss, let me gently place this truth back into your heart. Not everything that leaves you is a sign that I have abandoned you. Sometimes a door closes so that you will not continue walking into a place that withers your soul. Sometimes a relationship grows distant so that you may learn to distinguish between love and dependence. Sometimes a plan collapses so that I may save you from a road that seemed beautiful but would have led to exhaustion. Abraham had to leave his father's land without knowing where he was going. Yet that very departure opened the way to a covenant. The people of Israel had to leave Egypt, a place of oppression, yet also of familiar pots of meat, in order to step into the desert of freedom. Do you see? Freedom often begins with a feeling of emptiness, because the soul is not yet used to the wide open sky. When you miss what is old, I do not reproach you, but I invite you not to pitch your tent in the past. Let memory become a lesson, not a chain. Let what is past be washed in the light, so that you may continue walking with lighter feet, even if tears still shimmer upon your lashes. On that path, you will encounter days when the soul feels like a desert, where prayer dries up, joy grows scarce, and everything seems to become only duty. Do not rush to conclude that you have lost faith. The desert is not always a place of abandonment. Often, the desert is where I speak to you most deeply, because there you no longer have so many noises to cling to. It was in the wilderness that manna fell each morning. It was where there was no spring that the rock poured forth water. It was in the darkness of night that the pillar of fire led the way. If today you receive only enough grace for one day, receive that one day with gratitude. Do not demand that I give you the map of your whole life when your feet only need light for the next step. The Psalm says that the word of the Lord is a lamp for your feet and a light for your path. That lamp does not illuminate every far-off turn, but it is enough to keep you from stumbling in the present moment. Trust me in the part of the road you cannot yet see, because I have already seen it before you even began. From the desert of the soul, I want to lead you to the river of mercy, where you no longer have to cleanse yourself through self-hatred. Some people carry a mistake within themselves for so long that they begin to think their identity is that mistake. But my child, sin can wound you. It can lead you astray. It can cover the beauty I placed within you with dust, but it has no right to give you your final name. When Jesus looked at Peter after he had denied his teacher 3 times, that gaze did not crush him, it made him weep. And in those tears, his heart was renewed. After the resurrection, he did not ask Peter 3 times, "Are you worthy?" but asked, "Do you love me?" I ask you with that same question, not to shame you, but to lead you back to the center of life. Do you love me? Even if that love is still weak, do you want to return? Even if your feet still tremble, will you let me heal you? Even if the wound has grown used to being hidden, if you can only answer with a small word, "Father, I want to," that is already enough for grace to begin. But grace does not only heal the past, it also teaches you to live the present with a new heart. I want you to learn how to speak words of blessing, because your words can become either cool water or fire. In the family, one gentle sentence can save a day that is beginning to crack. At work, one fair word can protect the dignity of someone weaker toward yourself. One merciful word can keep your soul from sinking into darkness. The book of Proverbs says that soothing words are a tree of life. And I want you to remember this whenever anger tries to borrow your mouth in order to wound. I am not telling you to remain silent before what is wrong, but to speak the truth in love. Truth does not need cruelty in order to be strong. A heart that belongs to me can be firm against evil and still tender toward people. When you correct your children, let them feel guided, not crushed. When you speak honestly with your spouse, seek unity, not victory. When you face someone who has offended you, let your dignity stand higher than your passing reaction. Every word you choose can be a stone that builds a home, or a stone thrown through the window of love. There will be times when you ask me how to love, when you yourself are exhausted. I understand this. No one can keep pouring from a vessel that has not been filled. Therefore, return to the source. Jesus said, "I am the vine. You are the branches." The branch does not force itself to bear fruit through anxiety, but bears fruit because it remains in the vine. You are the same. Do not turn the life of faith into a chain of efforts that leaves you drained. Remain in me. Remaining does not mean always feeling fervent. Remaining means still returning to prayer when your heart is dry. Still choosing what is good when no one is watching. Still allowing my word to question and comfort you. Still believing that love has not left you on the day you feel nothing at all. When you remain, sweet fruit will come in its season. Patience in place of anger. Generosity in place of fear of lack. Purity in place of confusion. Courage in place of shrinking back. Peace in place of bewilderment. This is not the work of your will alone, but my life-giving sap flowing through you. Within that flow, I want you to look again at the poor and little ones around you. Not only those who lack money, but also those who lack someone to listen to them. Those who lack a respectful gaze. Those who lack a spiritual home where they can rest. There are people who dress beautifully yet are torn within. There are people who laugh and speak, yet their hearts are cold. There are people who are successful, yet do not know whether they are still loved if they stop achieving. You may not be able to save the whole world, but today you can become a small sign of my compassion to one person. The Good Samaritan did not organize a long sermon by the roadside. He stopped, bandaged the wounds, poured on oil and wine, and brought the injured man to an inn. True love often takes a very concrete form: a phone call, a meal, a helping gift within your means, a word spoken in defense of someone being slandered, a presence that is not rushed. Do not wait until you are rich before doing good. Do not wait until you are free before loving. Do not wait until you are completely healed before becoming someone who brings healing. Many times, the one who has been wounded knows how to bandage most gently, because they understand the value of a hand that does not condemn. And when you practice that love, be careful to guard your heart against silent pride. To do good and want to be seen is very human, but I invite you to go further, to the place where love is pure enough to rejoice even when no one knows. Jesus taught that when you give alms, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. That word was not meant to hide the light, but to protect the heart from turning holiness into a stage. Serve like one who sows seeds beneath the morning dew, without demanding that the soil immediately burst into flowers before your eyes. I see, I remember, I will make what is good blossom in my own way. Sometimes a word you speak today will bloom in someone's heart many years later. Sometimes a forgiveness you choose in silence will stop a stream of bitterness from passing through many generations. Sometimes a child who sees you pray in weariness will learn that faith is not an ornament, but breath itself. Do not underestimate the hidden influence of an upright life. A small grain of salt makes no noise, but it preserves life from decay. From that quiet service, I bring you back to the inner room, where you must learn to discern the different voices calling you. Not every voice that urges you forward comes from me. There are voices that make you hurried, afraid, self-contemptuous, endlessly competitive. There are voices that make you think that if you stop, you will be left behind forever. But my voice, even when it calls you to conversion, still carries dignity and hope within it. When I correct you, I do not tear you apart. I prune you like a gardener so that the tree may bear more fruit. When I call you to step out of your comfort zone, I do not throw you into emptiness. I go before you like a shepherd, walking ahead of the flock. Learn to ask, does this lead me toward greater love or greater closure? Toward deeper peace or toxic agitation? Toward humble truth or arrogant illusion? St. John advised that you test the spirits. And you too need that wisdom in an age of many voices. Not every light is dawn. Some lights are only lightning flashes that dazzle the eyes. My light may be gentle, but it endures. And beneath that light, you will see the path without losing your soul. There will be times along the journey of discernment when you must say no to what once attracted you. Say no to a habit that weakens your body. No to a relationship that pulls you away from truth. No to greed disguised as wisdom. No to conversations that pollute your soul. No to torturing yourself through comparison. Each of those no's may hurt in the first moment, but it opens the way for a greater yes. Yes to life. Yes to peace. Yes to dignity. Yes to your calling. When Joseph in Egypt was tempted in Potiphar's house, he ran from what could have destroyed his soul, even though his integrity caused him to suffer injustice. But I did not forget Joseph in the prison's darkness, in the very place that seemed to bury him. I was preparing him for the day he would save an entire people from famine. Therefore, do not fear the losses that come from living uprightly. What you lose because of faithfulness never falls from my hands. Then one day you will look back and see that the fragments of life you thought were scattered were actually being woven by me into a meaningful cloth. Joseph told his brothers that they intended evil, but God turned it into good. Listen carefully to that sentence, because I do not call evil good, nor do I tell you to be grateful for wounds. What I want you to understand is that my power is so great that even what human beings have damaged, I can still redeem and turn into a path of life. A failure can teach you humility. A rejection can lead you to a place more fitting for you. A wound can open compassion within you. A season of waiting can train you to trust. Nothing in your life, when entrusted to me, is completely meaningless. Even ashes can become soil for a new seedling. Even darkness can make the guiding star shine more clearly. Even the years that seemed lost can be restored by me through depth, wisdom, and a heart that knows how to love more purely. Therefore, stop cursing your own journey. Do not say that you are too slow, too broken, too weak, too late. I do not call you by those names. I call you one who is being rebuilt. I call you a child who has been found. I call you an earthen vessel carrying treasure. As St. Paul said, so that the surpassing power may belong to me and not to you. An earthen vessel may be cracked, but through those cracks, light can shine out. You do not need to hide every crack in order for me to use you. You only need to let me hold you in my hands. When you are honest about your limits, you open the door to grace. When you stop pretending that you need no one, you begin to receive love. When you bow down, I lift you up. When you lay down your weapons of defense, I clothe you in a new garment. Holiness is not a face that never cries. Holiness is a heart that knows how to weep in my embrace. Then rise again to love one more time. Now, as this stream of words continues to flow within you, I want you to imagine yourself being led into a garden at dawn. The ground is still wet with dew. The birds have not yet begun to sing loudly, but light has already started touching the edges of the leaves. Mary Magdalene once came to the tomb while it was still dark. Carrying a sorrow she thought nothing could heal, she was looking for a body that had been lost. But instead she met the risen one, calling her by name. Just one call. Mary changed all mourning into mission. You are the same. Perhaps you come to me in darkness, carrying things you thought had died, a faith, a dream, a love, a pure part of yourself. But I still know your name. And when I call your name, you will realize that not every tomb is the end. There are places where you thought only cold stone remained, yet I was preparing a dawn. There are things you thought were buried, yet I call them to rise again in a form more purified, more humble, brighter, and more belonging to life. Therefore, my beloved child, let today become a new response. There is no need for noise, no need for promises beyond your strength, no need to build lofty resolutions and then strike yourself when you are weak again. Begin with small but true things. Drink a glass of water with gratitude. Tidy one corner of your room as though tidying one corner of your soul. Speak a kind word instead of remaining coldly silent. Turn off a noise that pulls you away from peace. Open the Bible and let one short sentence remain in your heart, such as "Peace be with you," like the breath of the risen one passing through a locked room. Work today as one who collaborates with me in the work of preserving the world. Rest today as one who believes the world will not collapse when you lay your head on the pillow. Love today as one who knows they have been loved first. If you fall, rise again in me. If you are afraid, take my hand. If you do not understand, simply remain. A beautiful life is not woven from perfect days, but from faithful returns. And when night falls, if you hear those old voices again telling you that you are alone, that you are not enough, that you are unworthy, you will gently answer with the truth I have placed within you. The Father is here. And this is between the Father and you, between the love that has called you from eternity and the soul that is learning how to respond. No one can live that encounter in your place. No one can take away the portion of grace I have reserved for you alone. The world may look at you through achievement, appearance, cost, possessions, status. But I look at you through covenant. I see the child who once needed to be held, the adult who is trying, the soul that is cracked many times and still longs for what is good. And I say, you belong to me. Sleep in that truth. Wake in that truth. Walk through streets, work, family, illness, bills, hopes, and trials in that truth. I do not promise that you will never meet storms, but I promise that you will not pass through storms alone. I do not promise that you will understand everything immediately, but I promise that my love will never stop finding a way to save you. After all, what I desire from you is not a life decorated with outward piety, but a heart that becomes more and more transparent so love can pass through. Let your eyes look at the world with mercy. Let your ears hear even the smallest cry. Let your hands know how to lift others up. Let your mouth know how to bless. Let your money serve life. Let your body be cared for as a temple. Let your mind be purified from lies. Let your soul become a house with a lamp for those who are lost, like a city set on a hill that cannot be hidden. Your life, when it remains in me, will shine, not because you are trying to become dazzling, but because I am quietly burning within you. So keep walking, my beloved child. Walk with a lighter heart, softer eyes, and a braver soul. Wherever you are on the journey, I am still here, however long it has taken you to return. I still keep the door open. Whatever the world may say about you, the final word still belongs to me, and that word is the word of a father. I love you. I hold you. I lead you. And in this love, you will never be abandoned. And when you have heard me call you in that silence, do not think this call is only for one tender moment that will dissolve like morning mist. No, my beloved child, what I sow in you today is a seed with life within it. And that seed will quietly grow in places you least expect. It will grow as you wash a glass after dinner, as you sit before a screen working with tired eyes, as you count the money left in your wallet, as you hear a loved one sigh, as you walk down a familiar road and suddenly feel that you are no longer as alone as before. Because from the moment you realize that I am here for you, every ordinary thing in your life can become a place where I touch you. Jesus once said that the kingdom of heaven is like yeast that a woman hid in 3 measures of flour until all of it was leavened. In the same way, my grace does not always come like lightning tearing open the sky, but often quietly seeps into every layer of your life, softening what had grown hard, warming what had grown cold, bringing back to life what you thought had died. Do not demand to see ripe fruit on the very day the seed is sown. Trust that I know which season needs rain, which season needs sunlight, which season needs resting soil, and which season I will call you into the golden field of promise. And when even the most ordinary things have begun to become sacred in your eyes, I want you to understand more deeply that life does not need to appear radiant before the world in order to have value before me. There are days when you can do only a few small things. Only keep your heart from giving up. Only refrain from answering bitterness with bitterness. Only rise after a weary night. Only choose to keep believing even while your heart is still trembling. Yet in the kingdom of heaven, these things are not small at all. The world often measures life by its echo, but I measure it by hidden love. The world looks at the outward face of success, but I look at the secret place where you have fought not to lose gentleness. When Jesus saw the poor widow put 2 small coins into the treasury, he did not look at the amount as the crowd did, but at the whole heart that offered what it had in trust. You are the same. Sometimes you think your contribution is too little, your prayer too clumsy, your faith too fragile. But I see when you offer it in truth, and whatever is offered in love, even if it is as small as a speck of dust, can shine like pure gold in my hands. From that hidden place, you will learn the beauty of faithfulness. Faithfulness is not always a burning emotion, not always great promises, not always moments that make you weep because of fervor. Many times, faithfulness is simply returning to what is right after having lost your way, praying even when your heart is dry, caring for your family even when you have not been thanked, working honestly even when you see others taking shortcuts, keeping your soul pure in a world that easily excuses what darkens the spirit. Noah built the ark in days when people mocked him. Abraham left his father's land without knowing where he was going. Ruth followed Naomi with the gentle declaration that your people shall be my people, and your God shall be my God. Those stories are not only distant memories, they are lamps placed before you so you may know that I have always built the history of salvation through steadfast hearts. Therefore, do not despise repeated days, and do not grow discouraged because the good has not yet flowered. The roots of a tree are not seen, but it is the roots that determine whether the tree will stand firm when the great winds come. Then there will be times when the great winds truly come, without asking whether you are ready. An unexpected phone call, a diagnosis, a loss, a broken relationship, a closed door at work, someone you love suddenly changing, a shortage of money, a long night when you do not know where your soul can hold on. In those winds, I do not want you to blame yourself for being afraid. The disciples were also afraid when the boat was tossed on the lake. They too cried out as if everything were about to sink, even though Jesus was there. Faith is not never trembling. Faith is, in the midst of trembling, still turning back to call upon me. When you have no beautiful words left with which to pray, you only need to cry, Father. That cry is enough to open a path in the darkness. I do not reject broken prayers. I do not turn my face away because you cry. I am the one who heard Hagar in the wilderness when she thought her child would die of thirst. And I opened her eyes to see the well nearby. There are wells of grace already near you, but despair has blurred your sight. Let me open your eyes, little by little, so you may see that even in the place you thought was the end, there is still a spring I have prepared. And when that spring carries you through one more day, you will understand that I do not give strength only for glorious victories, but also for holy endurance. There are seasons when you cannot change your circumstances immediately, but you can still keep your heart from hardening. There are people who do not yet understand you, but you can still choose not to let misunderstanding turn you into a bitter person. There are wounds that have not fully healed, but you can still prevent them from becoming weapons that wound others. That is a great grace. When Joseph was sold by his brothers, taken down to Egypt, falsely accused, and forgotten in prison, he had every reason to become a man full of resentment. But in those dark years, I was still quietly guarding his heart, shaping his wisdom, preparing him to become the one who would save many peoples during famine. Later, when he met his brothers again, Joseph was able to say that what they intended for harm, God had turned into good. My child, I do not call evil good, but I have the power to take from the ashes of evil a path that leads to life. And when you know that I remain within even the most ordinary things of your life, my beloved child, let your heart slow down a little more, because there are truths that can only be heard by a heart that is no longer rushing to defend itself. The world often teaches you that you must prove yourself. Compete. Always have an answer. appear as someone who never trembles, but I call you to another path, the path of gentle surrender, where your soul does not need to strain in order to be loved. Remember Mary of Bethany sitting at the feet of Jesus to listen, while Martha was busy with much serving, and when Martha's heart became troubled with worry, Jesus did not despise her service, but gently showed her that only one thing is necessary. You are the same. Perhaps you are doing many good things, caring for loved ones, keeping your family together, building your work, preparing for the future. But if in all these things you lose your place at my feet, your soul will become weary, even when your hands are full of achievements. Let me teach you to choose the better part, not to abandon responsibility, but to place every responsibility in my presence, so that each thing you do is no longer a lonely burden, but a small flower placed upon the altar of love. From that place of silence, you will realize that many wounds within you did not come from great events, but from very small things repeated again and again. A criticism when you were young, a cold gaze when you needed to be held, a time you were compared, a time you were forgotten, a time you tried your best and no one saw. Those small things are sometimes like pebbles inside a shoe. They do not make you fall immediately, but they make every step painful. I do not make light of your small pains, because I know that a soul can bleed silently for a very long time. When Jesus saw Nathanael under the fig tree before he was called, he let him know that there was no hidden place in his life outside the gaze of love. You too have had your own fig trees, places where you sat alone with your thoughts, moments when you wondered whether anyone truly understood you. I saw you there. I saw even the nights when you did not complain aloud, but simply lay still while your heart surged like a storm. I saw the times you swallowed your tears so others would not worry. I saw you trying to be kind even when you were empty inside. And I tell you that not one drop of your pain is wasted if you place it in my hands. It is in those hands that the things you thought were only losses can be transformed into wisdom. Look at Joseph in the book of Genesis, the man sold by his own brothers, thrown into exile, falsely accused, forgotten in the darkness of prison. If you look at each chapter separately, you may think his life was a chain of injustices with no answer. But when my time came to fullness, he stood before the very people who had harmed him and said, "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good." My child, I am not saying that evil is good, nor am I saying that betrayal or injustice must be called a blessing. No, I am the righteous one. I know that pain is pain. Wrong is wrong. Sin is sin. But I am also the Redeemer, which means there is no dark chapter into which I cannot step and continue writing with light. What others use to break you, I can use to make you deeper. What once made you feel left behind, I can turn into a bridge that helps you understand others who are also left behind. What seemed to bury you, I can transform into fertile soil for a new harvest. Therefore, do not be quick to curse the quiet seasons of your life. There are months and years when no one sees you growing. No one praises you. No one knows that you are wrestling with yourself. Yet the roots of a tree are always at work in the darkness before the trunk rises into the light. Mary carried the Son of God in her womb for 9 months, silently and hidden from sight, before Bethlehem heard the cry of the child, and after that, many years in Nazareth passed so ordinarily that people were astonished when Jesus began to preach. Do you see? Even the Savior did not bypass the hidden years. So if you are in a season of not yet being recognized, do not think you are useless. If you are learning in silence, healing in silence, doing small things in silence, caring for your family in silence, praying in silence, I am still there. I am the Father of shoots no one has yet seen, the one who knows the name of every seed before it breaks open. What you quietly do in love will not disappear. It is stored in my treasure house, where no moth can destroy and no thief can steal. And from that very promise, my beloved child, I want you to enter more deeply into the rest your soul has long been longing for. Not the kind of rest that only comes when every bill has been paid, every relationship has settled, the body no longer aches, and the future holds nothing that makes you anxious. For if you wait until that day to be at peace, perhaps you will let your whole life pass by in a waiting that has no shore. I want you to recognize another place of rest. The place Jesus opened when he said, "Come to me, all you who are weary." Not so you could escape life, but so you could learn to carry life with a gentler strength. There are burdens you are carrying not because I placed them on your shoulders, but because you thought you had to control everything, please everyone, and prove by yourself that you are worthy of being loved. Today, I bend down beside you, place my hand upon those shoulders that have grown used to being tense, and tell you that you do not need to brace yourself before me. Let me remove from you the yoke of fear, the heavy garment of shame, the crown of thorns made of comparison. You still have responsibilities. You still must keep walking. You still must do your part. But you will no longer walk like someone driven by panic. You will walk like someone guided by a father who knows the way. From that rest, I want to teach you something very small and very holy. Look back on your day as though you were looking at a garden. Not only as though you were looking at a battlefield. You often count the things left unfinished, the words left unsaid, the mistakes committed, the matters that need fixing, and then you judge yourself a failure before the day has even ended. But in my eyes, your day is not made only of shortcomings. It also contains so many small seeds you have sown without even realizing it. Perhaps you were a little more patient than yesterday, kept silent instead of answering with bitterness, completed a task even when your heart did not want to, smiled at someone who needed a smile, or stood up again after a dark thought. Do not despise these things. In the parable of the seed that grows quietly, whether the sower sleeps or wakes, night or day, the seed sprouts and grows, though he does not know how. The kingdom of heaven within you often grows in that same way, without noise, without immediately making you feel radiant, yet quietly transforming the deep layers of your soul. Let me show you that grace is still at work, even on the days when you think you have made no progress at all. Then, when you learn to look at your day through my eyes, you will become less severe with yourself and gentler with others. My child, people often react to one another from wounds that have not yet been healed. Someone who is quick-tempered may be carrying the fear of being looked down upon. Someone who is cold may have been rejected too many times. Someone who likes to control may have once lived in deep insecurity. Someone who is silent may not be without love, but may simply not yet know how to speak out what is hurting. I am not telling you to accept every wrong thing, but I am inviting you to look at people more deeply than their outward behavior. When Jesus met Zacchaeus, he did not begin by calling him a sinner, even though everyone saw him that way. He simply said, "Today I must stay at your house." And it was precisely being seen with mercy that moved Zacchaeus to change willingly. There are hearts that cannot be opened by condemnation, but melt when they are touched with dignity. You too, learn to give others a stretch of sky in which they may become better, while also knowing how to keep boundaries so that the goodness within you is not extinguished. In your home, where small things repeat day after day, I want you to recognize that holiness does not always come with the sound of church bells, but may be hidden in the clatter of bowls and chopsticks, in footsteps, in sighs, in the voice of a child calling for its mother, in an elderly parent asking the same question again and again. Sometimes you think your family exhausts you because of its endless needs. But it is also there that you are trained in a kind of love that is more than emotion. Love in the family is often patience when you are tired. Explaining again, though you have explained many times before. Caring for someone who does not know how to say thank you properly. Choosing not to speak a hurtful word, even when you could win the argument. At Cana, when the wedding feast ran out of wine, Mary said to Jesus only one simple sentence, "They have no wine." She did not make noise, did not reproach anyone, but simply brought the lack before her son. Learn that from her. When your family runs out of joy, runs out of listening, runs out of endurance, do not only blame one another, bring that emptiness to me. I can turn the plain water of ordinary life into the new wine of grace. If you dare to let me enter the places you thought were too ordinary for prayer, in those ordinary days as well, your body needs to be treated by you with reverence. I see how often you are so busy caring for others that you forget yourself, or so busy chasing after work that your body becomes a tool used beyond its strength. But my child, your body is not the enemy of your soul. It is the vessel I have shaped, the temple where the Spirit desires to dwell. When you eat what is wholesome, rest at the proper time, step outside to breathe, let your eyes turn away from the screen, allow your hands to pause, and let sleep return. These things too can be a way of honoring me. Elijah once lay under the broom tree, so exhausted that he asked to die. Yet I did not send him a long sermon. I sent bread and water, and told him to eat, because the journey was still too long for him. Do you see? Sometimes the most sacred thing you need to do is not to force yourself to be stronger, but to receive the bread and water I have placed beside you, so that your body may be restored, and your soul may hear me more clearly. From a body that is cared for, your mind also needs to be cleansed like a room long closed, that finally opens its doors to sunlight. How many words from others have clung to the walls of your heart like old dust, words of criticism, comparison, contempt, abandonnement, words that made you believe you were not worthy of love. I want you to bring each of those words before my light and ask, did this word come from love? Does it lead me toward life? Does it agree with the truth that I was created in the image of God? If not, you do not need to keep it as an inheritance. Let my word replace the lie. When Scripture says, "You are precious in my eyes," let that sentence descend deeper than every word that once made you feel small. When the word says that I call you by your name, let that truth heal the ears when you thought you were only someone being passed over. Your mind is not a dumping ground for every fear. It can become a garden where truth grows. If each day you know how to pull out one thorn and plant one seed of the word in its place, but you will not always feel strong enough to pull the weeds in that garden. There are memories that return unexpectedly. Wounds you thought had healed that suddenly ache when a word, a scent, or an old road touches them. When that happens, do not scold yourself for still being weak. Healing is not the complete erasing of memory, but the moment when memory no longer rules over you as it once did. Remember the story of the paralyzed man lowered through the roof by his friends so he could draw near to Jesus. Sometimes you too need friends of faith like that. People who will not leave you outside the door when the crowd is too tight. People who know how to carry you closer to life when you cannot walk by yourself. Do not be ashamed of needing help. I created you for communion, not for proud isolation. If you do not yet have anyone to lean on, ask me to lead you to healthy souls. And while you wait, know that I am still the first one who bends down to carry you, bandage you, and tell you that your sins are forgiven and your life can rise again. From that place of rising again, you will learn a new way to face the future. You do not need to look at the future as a great beast lurking outside your door. The future is in my hands before it ever enters your calendar. What you call tomorrow, I already know with wisdom that does not err. What you call unexpected, I can use to open a way. What you call delay, I can turn into a time of preparation. Ruth did not know that her steps in gleaning behind the harvesters would bring her into the story of salvation and make her an ancestor in the line of David. She was simply faithful to the small thing before her, caring for her mother-in-law, going out to the field, gathering the leftover heads of grain, living gently in a foreign land. You too. Do not despise today's faithfulness simply because you cannot yet see the larger picture. There are ordinary encounters that become doors of grace. There are humble tasks that form within you the qualities needed for a greater calling. There are seasons that seem to be only about survival, yet are quietly writing the deepest part of your testimony. And if in that future there are financial doors that make you tremble, let me remind you to live wisely without being swallowed by anxiety. I do not want you to be wasteful, nor do I want you to worship security. Learn to manage what you have like a faithful steward. Know how to work, how to save, how to avoid unnecessary debt, how to invest in what nourishes life, and how to refuse desires that only leave you emptier. But above all, do not let money determine your worth. Money can buy a house, but it cannot buy a home. It can buy medicine, but not peace at its root. It can buy attention, but not true love. When Jesus looked at the rich man who went away sorrowful, he did not hate him. He grieved because he saw that possessions held the man's heart more tightly than the invitation to life. Use wealth as one who holds a tool. Do not let it hold you like a chain. When you put me first, the things you possess will find their proper place again. At the same time, you also need to learn to receive joy without suspecting it. There are souls so accustomed to pain that when something good comes, they do not dare believe it, fearing that behind the joy, a loss is waiting. You can be like that too, hesitant before a peaceful day, suspicious of a loving word, uneasy when things are temporarily well. But I am not only the God of the moments when you cry, I am also the Father of clear laughter, of warm meals, of golden fields of sunlight, of songs that make your heart lighter. When the Father, in the parable of the prodigal son, held a feast, he did not say, "Let my son suffer a little longer so he deserves it." He said to celebrate, because his son was dead and is alive again. I want you to know how to celebrate the times you come back to life, even in small ways. A day when you did not give up, an evening when you did not sink into despair, a moment when you chose forgiveness, a time when you returned to prayer after many days away. All of these are worthy of heaven's joy. Do not regard joy as something unspiritual. Pure joy is the fragrance of a soul that knows it has been saved. From that joy, you will have the strength to step into the painful places of the world without being swallowed by darkness. I do not call you to live positively by closing your eyes to the tears of humanity. Faith is not a layer of golden paint spread over every crack. Faith is a light real enough to enter the cracks and not be extinguished. When you hear sad news, when you see the poor, when you see sickness, when you see injustice, do not let your heart grow numb from being overwhelmed. Bring these things into prayer and into actions that are within your strength. The prophet Micah said that what I require is to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with God. Justice in your life may begin with not being deceitful, not exploiting others, not joining in slander, not taking advantage of someone weaker, not looking away when someone needs to be defended. Mercy may begin with seeing the person who serves you as a human being patient with the elderly, gentle with children, and praying even for the one you do not understand. Humility may begin with admitting that you need me every day. Perhaps you will say, "Father, I want to live like this, but I forget so easily." I know. Human beings often forget grace faster than they forget wounds. Remember insults longer than blessings. Therefore, I invite you to set up within your heart stones of remembrance for mercy. When the people of Israel crossed the Jordan, they took 12 stones and set them up as a sign, so that when their children later asked about them, they could tell how I had led them through the waters. You too need such sacred stones, a journal page recording the day I lifted you up, a verse of scripture placed where you can easily see it, a hymn you listen to when your heart is weak, a habit of giving thanks before sleep, a slow sign of the cross before stepping into a new day. These reminders are not charms, they are anchors for the soul. When the storm comes, you will need to remember that I have been faithful before. And the one who was faithful yesterday does not become poor in mercy today. Even so, do not turn spiritual habits into a rod with which to beat yourself. There are days when you pray fervently, and days when all you can do is sigh, days when you can read much of the Word of God, and days when even one sentence feels hard to receive, days when you feel close to me, and days when faith is like a flickering lamp. I do not stand beside you with a cold notebook, grading every emotion. I look at the direction of your heart. A child learning to walk is not scolded by its father for stumbling. The father stretches out his hand and encourages the child to step again. You too are learning to walk in grace. When you miss one day of prayer, do not let shame drag you into missing many more. Return at once. When you grow angry, apologize and learn again. When you fall back into an old habit, rise and seek the help you need. Perseverance does not mean never falling. Perseverance means not giving the fall the final authority. In that light, I want you to understand humility more deeply. Humility is not self-contempt, nor is it denying the gifts I have given you. Humility is knowing the truth. Every good thing in you comes from me. But that does not make you small and worthless. It makes you free. John the Baptist said, "He must increase, but I must decrease." Yet that decreasing did not make him disappear into sadness. It brought him into the joy of the bridegroom's friend. You too. When you let me increase within you, you do not lose yourself. You find your truest self again. The fearful, grasping, defensive, jealous ego will become smaller, so that the beloved, free, and radiant child may appear. When you no longer need to stand at the center of every gaze, you will feel lighter. When you no longer need to win every argument, you will preserve your peace. When you no longer need to prove yourself to everyone, you will have real life before me, gently. In this way, you will begin to recognize that your calling is not necessarily something distant and glorious. Your calling, first of all, is to become love where you are living. If you are a father or a mother, your calling may be to help your children feel guided rather than burdened. If you are a child, your calling may be to honor, care for, or forgive the limitations of your parents while still knowing how to protect your own soul. If you are single, your calling is not to wait for life to begin, but to live the present season fully with the richness I give. If you are ill, your calling may be to let patience and hope become a silent sermon. If you are working in a place few people notice, your calling may be to sow honesty into an environment that lacks light. The mystical body has many members, and no member is despised when it remains in love. You do not need to live someone else's life in order to please me. You need to live your own life with a heart that belongs to me. From your own calling, I want you to learn how to bless the world instead of merely complaining about it. Every morning, when you open your eyes, You can become someone who brings a different breath into the day. Before touching your phone, touch my presence. Before reading the news, let my word read your heart. Before speaking to others, let me speak to you and tell you that you are loved. Then, from there, you step into the world not as someone being dragged along, but as one carrying a small jar of mercy's oil. Bless the room you live in through order and gratitude. Bless your meal with thanksgiving. Bless the road with courtesy. Bless your workplace with integrity. Bless difficult people with prayer, even while you still keep wise distance. A blessed life is not a life without trials, but a life that allows every trial to pass through my hands before it touches your soul. Then, when night returns like a soft cloth laid over the noise of the day, let me look back over everything with you, not to condemn, but to gather. I will gather with you the pieces of joy, the pieces of sorrow, the pieces of wrong, the pieces of right, the pieces of hope, the pieces of disappointment. I will show you what needs gratitude, what needs forgiveness, what needs to be released, what needs to be learned, and what needs to be handed over. Do not sleep with a heart full of thorns when you can place it in my hands. Remember the words of the psalm, "In peace I will lie down and sleep," because the one guarded by me does not need to stay awake in fear. If you cannot solve every problem before you sleep, entrust them to me like a child placing broken toys into the hands of a father. There are things I will mend in the night of grace, things I will teach you to mend tomorrow, and things I will help you release because they no longer belong to you. Your sleep too can be an act of faith. You believe that when you close your eyes, I still keep my loving eyes open over your life. And if one day you find yourself wandering far away again, do not let shame convince you that the way back has been closed. The way home is always open because I am the Father. You can return from a wrong decision, from a season of coldness, from a relationship that wounded you, from a habit that stole your peace, from a year in which you lived as though I were not present. You need only turn your face back, and you will see that I have been standing there for a long time. Like the shepherd seeking the lost sheep, I do not wait until you crawl back close enough before I love you. I go searching for you among the thorns, in the clefts of the rocks, in the darkness. And when I find you, I place you upon my shoulders. Let that image heal the way you see me. I am not an angry master waiting only to punish mistakes. I am the Father who rejoices when you are found. Your tears of return do not trouble me. They are the first stream of a new springtime within your soul. So, my beloved child, continue walking into tomorrow with a gentle strength. Gentleness is not weakness. Gentleness is strength purified by love. Strength is not needing no one. Strength is knowing how to lean on me while still keeping your heart open to goodness. Let your eyes become brighter when you look at others. Let your words become cleaner when you speak of someone who is absent. Let your hands become wider when you meet someone in need. Let your heart become steadier when you are misunderstood. Let your steps become slower when haste tries to pull you away from peace. If you can do even a little today, give thanks. If you cannot yet do it, ask for grace and begin again. I never stop building you, day by day, breath by breath, small choice by small choice. I am turning your life into a hymn that needs no stage. And one day, when you look back, you will understand that I was in every stretch of the road, in the dawn and in the storm, at the dining table and in the hospital, in the smile and in the tears, in success and in brokenness, in clear prayers, and even in the nights when you knew only how to be silent. At last, let this word remain within you like a glowing coal that does not go out. You are not the story of the crowd, not the product of judgment, not the sum of what you have achieved or lost. You are a sacred conversation between me and a soul that is loved. Every beautiful thing I send into this world is also seeking a way to pass through you. Kindness, hope, faithfulness, purity, joy, mercy, light. Let me continue writing within you, not with the ink of fear, but with grace, not on cold paper, but upon a heart of flesh that still knows how to tremble. When you wake, I am there. When you work, I am there. When you make mistakes and turn back, I am there. When you grow old, when your hair turns grayer, when your strength becomes weaker, when many things you once clung to fall from your hands, I am still there. And when all the noise of this life grows quiet, you will recognize that the voice which called you from the beginning is still the final voice that holds you. I am here. My beloved child, between me and you, love has never left. And that love will lead you home. And then, my beloved child, from the silence I have placed within your heart like a small lamp, learn to walk, not with the panic of one who is always afraid of losing, but with the peace of one who knows he is being kept. There are days when you look around and see the world like a great wave. People chasing success, chasing praise, chasing glittering things, while forgetting to ask whether their souls can still breathe. But do not let your heart be swept too far away from the clear spring. I spoke through the mouth of the prophet, in quietness and trust shall be your strength. And that word was not only for an ancient people far away, but also for you on this very morning. As you wake with so many things still unfinished, true strength is not always a loud voice, a hurried step, or a face that never sheds tears. Sometimes strength is knowing how to stop before the heart turns to stone, knowing how to bow your head in prayer before anger breaks a relationship, knowing how to remain silent so you do not sow more thorns into another person's wound, knowing how to return to me when every road outside has made you weary. Believe that a soul that knows how to remain in me will not become poor, even if the world takes away a few things you once held. Because what I sow into you is not something the wind can easily blow away, but life rooted in eternal love. From that peace, I want you to look back at the rhythm of your own life with gentler eyes, because many times you have treated yourself like a harsh master, always demanding more, always blaming, always forcing your small soul to run faster than grace. You stay up late because of worry, eat in a hurry because you are busy, work in tension, and then blame yourself for not being good enough, capable enough, worthy enough to rest. But my child, when I created the seventh day and blessed the day of rest, I did not do so because I was tired in the way human beings become tired, but to teach you that rest is also a part of holiness. Jesus once said to his disciples, "Come away by yourselves to a deserted place and rest a while," because he knew that one who serves much but does not return to the source will slowly run dry. One who loves much but is not healed by love will easily turn goodness into a burden. And one who works without knowing how to stop will one day look at his own life like a sun-scorched field. So do not see caring for your body as selfish. Do not see a proper meal, a deep sleep, or a walk beneath gentle sunlight as something trivial. In all these things, I am also nourishing you, just as I nourished Elijah with bread and water when he was so weary that he only wanted to lie down beneath the broom tree. Before I gave him a new journey, I let him sleep. I gave him food, and only then did I tell him to go on. So if today you are exhausted, perhaps the first thing I want is not for you to try harder, but for you to let me care for you as a father cares for a child who has walked too long beneath the sun. When your body is soothed, your mind also needs to be cleansed of the voices that have lived within you for too long but do not belong to me. There are words people once spoke to you in moments of carelessness, yet you carried them like a sentence, that you were not beautiful enough, not intelligent enough, not successful enough, not lovable enough, not strong enough. There are old failures that became distorted mirrors, making you see yourself as smaller than the truth each time you looked into them. But I, the one who formed you from the dust and breathed life into you, never call you by the name of failure. When Jacob once bore the name of one who grasped and struggled, I changed his name to Israel, a person who wrestled with God and was blessed. When Simon was impulsive and weak, Jesus still called him Peter, the rock, not because he had never fallen, but because I saw what grace could build within him. You are the same. I do not look at you only through the moment when you stumbled. I look at you through the calling I placed within you, through the light that has not gone out, through the capacity to love that is still waiting to be restored. Do not let the words of the world name your soul. Let me call you beloved child, redeemed one who can begin again, a piece of land that, though once dry and barren, can still welcome the rain from heaven. From that very recognition, you will learn how to live with the past without being ruled by the past. I do not deny that some things truly happened, that there are wounds which cannot disappear with a single word, that there are memories which return suddenly, like a door blown open by the wind in the night. But my beloved child, I do not call you to forget by your own strength. I call you to walk with me through each room of memory, so that where there was once darkness, a lamp may be lit. Where there was once coldness, warmth may enter. Where a place was once locked by fear, it may be opened by mercy. Remember the story of Joseph, the one sold by his own brothers, pushed into a foreign land, falsely accused, and forgotten in a dark prison. Yet, when my time came, what others intended for harm, I turned into a path that saved many lives. He said to his brothers, "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good." Do you see? I do not always prevent every sorrow from happening, but I have the power to turn even broken pieces into bread that nourishes the soul, and to turn even tears into a river that waters a new season of wisdom. So do not conclude your life by its darkest chapter. I am still writing, and my pen is mercy that never runs dry. From being healed within, you will also learn again how to look at others with eyes less burdened by fear. Perhaps you have met people who disappointed you, promises that were not kept, friendships that faded, hands that once held yours and then let go, faces that were once close and have now become strangers. I know this hurts you, because I created your heart to love and to be loved, not to live like a stone. But I also want you to understand that not everyone who leaves your life is proof that you are unlovable. Some leave because their journey can no longer continue with yours. Some are not mature enough to protect the sacred thing you offered. Some are only a mirror, showing you the part of your soul that needs me to heal it more deeply. Love, but do not worship another person's presence. Cherish, but do not place my throne into the hands of an imperfect human being. When Mary Magdalene stood weeping beside the tomb, the risen Jesus called her name, and that single call made her recognize the teacher. But he also said, "Do not hold on to me," because true love does not imprison, but leads you into mission. So if you must let go of something, let it go in my hands, not in despair. What belongs to grace will not be lost meaninglessly. What no longer nourishes life will be gently loosened from your heart by me, so that you may have room to receive a greater peace. Then, when you return to your family, to those loved ones whom you love and yet who have often made you weary, carry with you the tenderness I have given you. Do not demand that your home be perfect before it can become a holy place. Many homes in Scripture were filled with weak human beings, yet I still entered them. Abraham's home once held Sarah's doubtful laughter, yet I still caused the promise to spring forth there. Jacob's home once held jealousy and division, yet from it I still built a people. The home of Martha and Mary once held busyness, gentle rebuke, and differences in the way love was expressed. Yet Jesus still came there as a close friend. Therefore, if your home has days when words are no longer gentle, if there is distance between parents and children, if between husband and wife there are silences longer than conversations, do not rush to declare that everything has died. Begin with the small things that pride often despises. A question asked without judgment, a meal shared together, and I am sorry, and I love you. A listening heart that does not rush to correct the other person. I can perform a miracle from jars of ordinary water at Cana, and I can also turn the simple habits within your family into the new wine of joy. As long as you invite me into the middle of the table, into the middle of the conversation, and even into the middle of disagreements that have not yet been healed. And on that journey, when it comes to children, if I have entrusted to you little ones or small souls who need your care, remember that they are not possessions for you to control according to your fears, but seeds I have placed in the garden of your life. Sometimes you worry so much about their future that advice becomes pressure, protection becomes a cage, and love becomes control. I understand that your heart wants what is good, but my beloved child, what a child needs is not only food, clothing, schooling, and achievement, but also a place where he is seen with kindness. When Jesus said, "Let the little children come to me," he did not see them as a nuisance in the middle of great work, but placed them at the heart of the kingdom of heaven. So teach children more by example than by shouting, more by patience than by disappointment, more by prayer than by comparison. Let them know that their worth does not exist only when they earn high grades, make much money, or bring honor to the family, but because they are creatures loved by me. And if you are carrying sorrow because your children have gone far away, because a loved one does not listen, because the next generation does not walk the path you hoped for, remember that I am their father before you are their parent. Love, guide, and pray, but do not forget to place them in my hands, because my hands are wider than your embrace, and my mercy can reach places your advice cannot touch. Sometimes, even after hearing all these words, you will still ask me in the night, "Father, what if I do what is right and still suffer? What if I pray and still do not see the way? What if I try to live well and my heart is still tired?" In that moment, I will not rebuke your questions, because in Scripture, those whom I love also questioned, wept, and wrestled. Job sat upon the ashes and lamented. Jeremiah said his heart was like fire burning in his bones. And the Psalms, too, contain cries rising from the depths. Faith is not a mask that always smiles. Faith is daring to bring the painful truth of yourself before me. You may tell me that you are tired, afraid, confused, discouraged, and in need of being carried. I am not offended by your honest tears. On the contrary, I am near to broken-hearted souls. As it is written, the Lord is close to the broken-hearted, precisely when you no longer have beautiful words or graceful thoughts. Your sigh can also become a prayer, because the Holy Spirit intercedes for you with groanings too deep for words. Come to me in truth, not as a decorated version of yourself that seems worthy. I love you in the light, but I also seek you in the darkness. Then there will come a time when you realize that what I desire between me and you is not a distant relationship, where you come only when you need to be rescued, but a communion as tender as breathing. I want to enter the rhythm of your life, not only during hours of prayer, but also when you pour a glass of water, lock the door of your home, write a message, care for a wound, choose food, pay a debt, forgive an insult, or look up at the sky before sleep. Let me become the light in the way you choose. Ask me before anger speaks in your place. Remember me before fear forces you to decide in haste. Invite me in before you sign something important. Enter a relationship. Leave behind a habit, or begin a new job. Not because I want to control you like a severe master, but because I am the Father who knows which path leads you to peace. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. That lamp does not always illuminate the whole horizon, but it is enough to keep you from stumbling on the next step. And often, that is all you need today. Finally, my beloved child, if tonight you close your eyes and your heart still carries a few wounds, a few questions, a few things that cannot yet be resolved, place them all in my hands as a farmer places seed into the soil and then sleeps. The soil will do the part of the soil. The rain will do the part of the rain. The sun will do the part of the sun. And I will do the part that only God can do. You do not need to stay awake all night to keep the universe turning. You do not need to carry everyone, every future, and every outcome by yourself. Do your part in love. Then let me do my part in power and mercy. Like an infant resting peacefully in its mother's arms, your soul too can rest in me. And when dawn comes, even if everything is not completely changed, you will change little by little in the way you receive everything. You will no longer walk like one abandoned, but like one called by name. You will no longer see your life as a chain of random days, but as a journey guided by the Father's hand. You will no longer live merely to survive, but to become a sign of my love in this world. So let my word remain within you like the fragrance that lingers after a deep prayer. When you hear the wind blow, remember that the Holy Spirit is still moving. When you see sunlight on the wall, remember that my light has not gone out. When you meet someone difficult to love, remember that I have also been patient with you. When you see your weakness, remember that my grace is sufficient for you. For my power is made perfect in weakness. When you are joyful, come to me. When you are sad, come to me. When you succeed, come to me. When you fail, come to me as well. Do not let any season of your life become a place where you live far from the Father. I do not love you by seasons. I do not cherish you according to achievement. I do not stay near you only when you are radiant. I am here, in every beat of your heart, in each breath you take, in the days when you are strong, and also in the days when all you can do is whisper, Father. And each time you call me that, I will bend down, never weary, never accusing, never distant, and answer with the love that existed before all ages. I am here. My beloved child, I am beside you, and between me and you. No one can take this love away. Speak to me in the gentle silence of your soul, merciful Father. Today I come before you not as a strong person who understands everything, but as a small child learning to place my hand in the Father's hand. I have walked through many days with a heart full of noise. Many times I have let worries about money, health, work, family, and the future obscure your light within me. But now, I ask to return to the simple truth that you are here, closer to me than my own breath, understanding me more deeply than any words I can say. Teach me not to flee from your presence, not to see myself as one forgotten in the vastness of life, but to believe that I am one who is called by name, loved, and kept in the Father's hand. When I am afraid, place within me the word of peace. Do not fear, for I am with you. When I am weak, remind me that your grace is enough for me. When I lose my way, call me back with the gentle voice of the shepherd who searches for the lost sheep, so that I no longer live like an orphan, but as a child who knows he has a father guiding the way. Also, pray for your body, your mind, and your home, because I want peace to flow into every corner of your life. Father, full of mercy, I offer you my weary body, my anxious mind, my heart with wounds not yet healed, and even the rooms of my family where, at times, there is too little laughter, too little listening, too little understanding. Enter the place where I live as Jesus entered the wedding feast at Cana, so that the ordinary jars of water in daily life may be changed into the new wine of joy, forgiveness, and hope. Help me care for my body as a temple of the Spirit, to rest when needed, to eat what is good, to cherish my breath, my sleep, my eyes, my hands, and every heartbeat you still grant me. Cleanse my mind of the lies that once made me feel small, of the comparisons that stole my peace, of the fear that I am not good enough, not worthy enough, not loved enough. Place your word in my heart like a good seed, so that where the thorns of inferiority once grew, the flowers of dignity may now bloom. Where there was once darkness because of resentment, there may now be light through forgiveness. Where there was once dryness because of loneliness, living water may now flow. And when you think of the road ahead, speak to me again with humble trust. Father, guide me in my work, my finance, my small and great decisions, my encounters, my hidden duties, and the seasons of waiting that I do not yet understand. Let me work with an upright conscience, not allowing success to make me arrogant, not allowing failure to make me despair, not allowing money to become the master of my soul, but knowing how to use everything you entrust to me to serve life and sow goodness. Make me wise like a faithful steward, knowing how to save, how to share, how to refuse desires that leave my heart empty, and how to trust that the birds of the air are still fed by you and the lilies of the field are still clothed beautifully by you. If today I hold in my hands only a small handful of flour of hope, teach me to place it into your hands like the widow of Zarephath, so that what seems little may still become a source of life and grace. Let me not fear the future as a darkness lying in wait, but welcome tomorrow as a piece of land where you have already gone before me, where every step I take is guided by the light of your word. Give thanks to me, not only for the great things you can clearly see, but also for the quiet graces that continue to sustain you each day. Beloved Father, I thank you because today I am still alive, still breathing, still have a heart that can hurt and can love, and can still return to you even though I have gone far away many times. I thank you because you have not looked at me through my final mistake, but through the eyes of the Father who runs out to embrace the prodigal child while he is still far off. I thank you because on the days when I thought I was forgotten, you were still quietly keeping me. In the nights when I cried and no one knew, you were still gathering my tears. In the moments when I no longer had a prayer, the Spirit still interceded for me with groanings too deep for words. I thank you because you have placed around me small miracles, a meal, a cool breeze, a word of concern, a sunrise, a restored sleep, an opportunity to begin again. Let gratitude become a lamp within me, so that I do not only see what is still lacking, but also recognize the countless things you have already given. Also thank me for the people and the lessons that have made your life deeper. Father, I thank you for my family, even though at times it is not perfect, because it is still where I learn to love with true patience. I thank you for those who have supported me, for the hands that once pulled me out of the abyss of sadness, for the words that warmed me at the right time, and even for the difficult people who taught me humility, boundaries, forgiveness without losing dignity. I thank you for the desert seasons, because there I learned that your manna is enough for each day. I thank you for the doors that closed, because perhaps behind them was a path no longer meant for my soul. I thank you for the delays, because in the waiting, you strengthened my heart. Do not let me waste suffering, and do not let me worship suffering, but teach me to place everything into your hands, so that even ashes can become soil for a new sprout of life. Finally, let this thanksgiving become the breath of the whole day, kind Father. I thank you, because the love between you and me does not need the crowd's approval, cannot be stolen by anyone, and no mistake can make you stop calling me home. I thank you because the cross has answered that I am worthy of love. The empty tomb has answered that darkness does not have the final word. And each dawn you give still reminds me that my life has meaning. Let me live today as a living act of thanksgiving. Eyes that know how to look with compassion. Ears that know how to hear the smallest cry. Hands that know how to lift up. A mouth that knows how to bless. Money that knows how to serve. A body that knows how to rest in reverence. A mind that knows how to remain in truth, and a soul that becomes a house with a lamp for those who are lost. And if today I only have enough strength to say one sentence, let it be this: Father, I thank you, because you are still here, still loving me, still guiding me, and in that love, I will never be abandoned. Thank you for listening. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel so that together we may grow in faith and in the love of God.